Don't curse, don't argue, don't get angry, just do it. The Stoic path to unshakable action. Picture this moment. Your coworker just took credit for your project in front of the entire team. Your first impulse? Curse them out. Your second? Start an argument to prove they're wrong. Your third? Let anger consume you for the rest of the day. But what if I told you there's a fourth option? What if instead of wasting energy on cursing, arguing, or getting angry, you could simply channel all that power into action that actually changes your situation? Today I'm going to share an ancient formula that transformed Roman emperors, Greek philosophers, and modern leaders into unstoppable forces of nature. It's deceptively simple, impossibly powerful, and it goes like this. Don't curse. Don't argue. Don't get angry. Just do it. This isn't about suppressing your emotions or becoming a doormat. This is about becoming so focused on solutions that problems become irrelevant. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the most successful people in history followed this exact pattern, and how you can use it to achieve more in the next 90 days than most people do in a year. Because here's what the Stoics knew that modern society has forgotten. Energy spent on emotional reactions is energy stolen from meaningful action. The curse of cursing. Why words waste your power. Let me tell you about two construction foremen I once observed. Both faced the same crisis. $1 million project was behind schedule, the client was furious, and half the crew had called in sick. Foreman A exploded. He cursed the weather, cursed the workers, cursed the client, cursed the entire industry. For 20 minutes, the job site echoed with his frustration and profanity. Foreman B said 3 words, "Let's fix this." Then he started making calls, reassigning tasks, and finding solutions. Guess which project finished on time? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says, but only to what he does himself." When you curse, you're literally throwing away your most precious resource, mental energy. Every word of frustration is a unit of power that could have gone toward changing your situation. Here's what cursing actually does. It reinforces your victim mindset. It tells your brain that you're powerless against circumstances. It trains you to focus on problems instead of solutions. And worst of all, it becomes a habit that replaces action with empty venting. The Stoics understood this. Epictetus, who was literally a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, never wasted energy cursing his circumstances. He transformed them through disciplined action. The replacement practice. When you feel the urge to curse, ask yourself, what's the first thing I can do to improve this situation? Then do that thing immediately. Turn the energy of frustration into the fuel of progress. Remember, champions don't curse their obstacles. They quietly dismantle them. The argument trap. Why being right keeps you wrong. There's a billionaire entrepreneur who built 3 successful companies before age 35. When I asked him his secret, he said something that stunned me. I stopped trying to win arguments and started trying to win results. Most people are addicted to being right. But the Stoics were addicted to being effective. Think about the last argument you won. What did you actually gain? Maybe you felt superior for a moment. Maybe you proved a point. But did it advance your goals? Did it strengthen your relationships? Did it move you closer to the life you want? Seneca observed, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." When you end your need to argue, you begin your journey to actual influence. Here's the truth most people never realize. Arguments don't change minds. Results do. I learned this lesson when I was trying to convince a client to change their marketing strategy. I had facts, statistics, case studies. I was clearly right. But the harder I argued, the more they resisted. Finally, I stopped arguing and started showing. I created a small test campaign that delivered immediate results. They changed their entire approach within a week. The argument trap works like this. You invest so much energy in proving you're right that you have no energy left to actually be right through your actions. You become a person who talks about solutions instead of a person who creates them. The Stoic approach. When someone disagrees with you, instead of arguing, ask, "What would I need to demonstrate to prove this point?" Then go demonstrate it. Let your results argue for you while you focus on what matters. Getting things done. Excellence speaks louder than arguments ever could. The anger illusion. Why fury is the enemy of force. Anger feels powerful, but it's actually the opposite of power. Let me explain through the story of two CEOs facing the same crisis. CEO A discovered that a trusted executive had been embezzling funds for years. He was furious. He called emergency meetings, shouted at staff, threatened lawsuits, and spent weeks consumed by rage at the betrayal. CEO B faced an identical situation. But instead of anger, he felt what he called cold determination. Within 24 hours he had secured the funds, implemented new safeguards, and quietly handled the legal matters. The company emerged stronger. Marcus Aurelius understood this principle. How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it? Anger is expensive. It costs you clarity when you need to think strategically. It costs you relationships when you need allies. It costs you time when you need to act quickly. And it costs you respect when you need to lead effectively. But here's what most people miss. Anger often masks fear. You're angry because you feel powerless. You're angry because something threatens your sense of control. You're angry because the situation demands more of you than you think you can give. The Stoic transformation. Instead of getting angry at obstacles, get excited about what overcoming them will make you become. Every challenge is asking the same question: who do you want to be in this moment? The replacement practice. When you feel anger rising, ask, what would the version of me who already solved this problem do right now? Then do that thing. Channel the energy of anger into the focus of action. Anger is a fire that burns the house down. Determination is a fire that forges steel. The power of just doing it, action as the ultimate answer. Now here's where everything changes. When you stop cursing, stop arguing, and stop getting angry, you discover something incredible. You have enormous amounts of energy available for actually solving problems. Let me share the story of Catherine, a single mother who discovered this principle by accident. She worked 2 jobs, was studying for her degree at night, and was raising 3 kids. One day her car broke down, her babysitter quit, and her professor assigned a major project due the next week. Her old pattern would have been to curse the situation, argue with everyone involved, and get angry at her circumstances. Instead, she was so overwhelmed that she went into what she called robot mode. No emotions, just action. Fix the car situation. Find a new babysitter. Complete the project. One step, then the next step, then the next. Not only did she handle the crisis, but she realized she had been wasting massive amounts of energy on emotional reactions that never changed anything. This is the Stoic secret. When you eliminate emotional waste, you become an unstoppable force of progress. Epictetus taught, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. The most powerful people in history weren't the best talkers or the angriest fighters. They were the most consistent doers. Here's how just doing it works in practice. When faced with any challenge, you immediately ask, what's the next physical action I can take? Not the next thing to think about, worry about, or complain about. The next thing to do. The action principle eliminates analysis paralysis. Instead of overthinking, you start moving. Movement creates momentum. Momentum creates results. Results create confidence. Confidence creates more action. Example in action. Your boss criticizes your work unfairly. Old response. Curse under your breath, argue your point, stay angry all day. New response. What can I do to make my next project undeniably excellent? Then do that. The Stoics called this the discipline of action. It's the foundation of every meaningful achievement in human history. The compound effect. How small disciplined actions create massive results. Here's what happens when you consistently apply the don't curse, don't argue, don't get angry, just do it principle. Small actions compound into extraordinary outcomes. I want to tell you about David, a software engineer who was passed over for promotion 3 times. Each time, his colleagues cursed management, argued about fairness, and got angry at the politics. David did something different. Instead of wasting energy on reactions, he identified exactly what skills the promoted people had that he lacked. Then he systematically developed those skills. Instead of arguing about the unfairness, he documented his contributions more effectively. Instead of getting angry at politics, he built better relationships with key decision makers. 18 months later, he didn't just get promoted. He got promoted 2 levels and became the youngest director in the company's history. The compound effect of disciplined action. Every time you choose action over reaction, you build what I call response muscle. You become the person who solves problems instead of the person who complains about them. You become known for results instead of emotions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I have to go to work,' as a human being." This is the essence of just doing it. You show up and perform your human function, creating value through action. Here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop trying to control other people through arguments and anger, you gain massive control over your own destiny through consistent action. The Stoic understood this formula. Emotional reactions decrease your power. Disciplined actions increase your power. Over time, the gap between you and reactive people becomes enormous. You become unstoppable not because you're the angriest or the loudest, but because you're the most relentlessly focused on moving forward. The practical implementation, turning philosophy into daily power. Now let's make this practical. How do you actually implement "don't curse, don't argue, don't get angry, just do it" in your daily life? First, recognize your triggers. Everyone has situations that typically make them reactive. Traffic, difficult people, unfair treatment, technical problems, criticism. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, imagining challenges in advance so you can respond instead of react. Create your action reflexes. For each common trigger, decide in advance what action you'll take instead of cursing, arguing, or getting angry. Stuck in traffic? Use the time for learning or planning. Criticized unfairly? Focus on what you can improve. Technical problems? Break them down into solvable steps. Measure action, not emotion. At the end of each day, ask yourself, how many hours did I spend on emotional reactions versus productive actions? The goal isn't to eliminate all emotions, but to maximize the ratio of doing to reacting. The 24-hour rule. Before engaging in any argument or expressing anger, wait 24 hours and ask, will arguing or getting angry about this advance my goals? If not, channel that energy into an action that will. Build your action momentum. Start each day by taking one immediate action toward your most important goal before checking messages or news. This trains your brain to default to action instead of reaction. The replacement ritual. When you catch yourself about to curse, argue, or get angry, immediately ask, what would the person I want to become do in this situation? Then do that thing even if it's small. Remember, this isn't about suppressing your humanity. It's about directing your human energy toward outcomes that actually matter to you. The transformation, from reactive to unstoppable. Let me paint you a picture of what your life looks like when you master this principle. You walk into work and there's a crisis. While others panic, curse, and point fingers, you immediately start identifying solutions. You become the person everyone turns to when things get difficult. Someone criticizes you unfairly. Instead of defending yourself or getting angry, you extract any useful feedback and focus on improving your next performance. You become known for grace under pressure. You face a major setback. While others get bitter and blame circumstances, you analyze what you can learn and what actions you can take. You become the person who turns setbacks into comebacks. The Stoics had a word for this transformation: ataraxia, unshakable tranquility. Not the tranquility of inaction, but the tranquility that comes from knowing you're always moving toward your goals regardless of external circumstances. Here's what people notice about you: you don't waste time on drama. You don't get pulled into office politics. You don't lose your cool under pressure. You consistently deliver results. You make things happen instead of making excuses. You become what Marcus Aurelius called a citizen of the world. Someone who takes responsibility for improving whatever situation they find themselves in. This is true power. Not the power to control others through emotion, but the power to create the life you want through relentless, disciplined action. People will ask your secret. You'll tell them it's simple: I don't curse, don't argue, don't get angry. I just do what needs to be done. The Stoic Challenge, your 30-day transformation. Here's your challenge for the next 30 days. and I promise you this will change everything about how you operate in the world. Every time you feel the urge to curse about a situation, immediately take one concrete action to improve it instead. Every time you want to argue with someone, ask yourself what you could demonstrate through your actions that would prove your point. Every time you feel anger rising, channel that energy into focused work on your most important goal. Keep track of this transformation. Notice how much more you accomplish when you're not spending energy on emotional reactions. Notice how differently people respond to you when you become solution-focused instead of problem-focused. The ancient Stoics practiced daily reflection. Each evening ask yourself, did I waste energy on cursing, arguing, or anger today? What would I do differently? What actions will I take tomorrow to advance my goals? By day 30, you'll discover something remarkable. You've become a completely different person. Not because you've suppressed your emotions, but because you've directed your energy toward creating the outcomes you actually want. You'll find that success isn't about having perfect circumstances. It's about having a perfect response to imperfect circumstances. The Stoics believed that this kind of disciplined action was the highest form of human excellence. Not just achieving goals, but becoming the kind of person who achieves goals consistently regardless of obstacles. This is your invitation to join the ranks of history's most effective people. Those who understood that cursing doesn't solve problems, arguing doesn't change minds, anger doesn't create results, but focused action transforms everything. Don't curse the darkness. Don't argue with the storm. Don't get angry at the mountain. Just light the candle, build the shelter, and climb the summit. That's how legends are made. That's how ordinary people create extraordinary lives. That's how you become unstoppable. Now stop reading about it and start doing it. Your future self is waiting for you to take the first step.